The pending retirement of Jim Carrey has fans wondering what will happen with Eggman. Could the retirement of Jim Carrey pave the way for Metal Sonic? Does this mean that fans will finally get what they want? Fans have been desperate for the new villain to be Shadow, as the games predict, but will the movies go in the same direction? The post-credit scene does imply that, but we'll have to wait and see. Does the release date offer some clues? First up, what does Jim Carrey's retirement mean for the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise? The ending of Sonic 2 has already created a lead into Sonic 3. Since Jim Carrey has announced his retirement from acting, the franchise could bring in new villains in the next installment, especially given the way that Sonic 2 ended. The franchise and those behind the scenes have planned for this potential shakeup with the cast, so it is not surprising that the creators decided to foretell the following two villains for Sonic 3, Shadow the Hedgehog and Metal Sonic. The next installment release date excited fans because it is December 20th, 2024. Why? We'll get to that later. Fans have been anticipating Shadow's inclusion in the film, so when they saw the mid-credit scenes showing the speedster, fans were delighted that he could be playing a role in the next movie. Next up, would the next villain be Shadow? Based on the ending credits scene, Shadow is likely the villain. However, given that this is the world of entertainment, only some things are guaranteed. Shadow is a clear choice, as he is a rival and complex character and will create a lot of conflict in the next movie, but in the video games, Shadow does turn out to be good and joins Sonic, which could mean that this could happen in movie 3. During the series, Metal Sonic has also come up in conversation, so there's a potential for this character to show up in the next installment too. Metal Sonic was created by Dr. Robotnik and was built as an evil robot to destroy the hero, Sonic. The construction of Metal Sonic makes sense. Metal Sonic blueprint came from Sonic. Why wouldn't you build a copy of Sonic? The inspiration for these movies stems from Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic & Knuckles games. Suppose the same principle is going to be applied to the next film. In that case, it stands to reason that Metal Sonic will debut, given that this is the villain in Sonic CD. The video games show that Robotnik made Shadow as a part of an experiment, and Eggman resurrected him to help him conquer the world. Shadow powers are speed and general power that could be better than Sonic's. Shadow is known as the ultimate life form. The games suggest where Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is going. Shadow in the end does become an anti-hero. He wants to save humanity even though he doesn't like them. In Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow becomes part of Sonic's team to save the world. The popularity of Shadow does mean that he might not be the likely villain to be killed. Shadow and Sonic may go up against each other and then team up to take on a more significant threat. The second movie is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 teams up with Knuckles. The more significant main villain is the unknown, which does not seem as obvious. And now we have other potential characters to join the Sonic franchise. The game series also has a female hedgehog, Amy Rose. There is potential for her character to feature in the next movie. There have been rumors about it for some time, so the potential for a new female character in Amy Rose and Metal Sonic for Sonic 3 is enormous. Amy Rose was a character made famous in the video game and made her appearance with Metal Sonic. Amy was kidnapped by the robot while trying to follow the hedgehog. To rescue Amy, Sonic had to battle it out with Metal Sonic in a race and evade Robotnik. A similar storyline could be a potential storyline for movie 3, especially in the first part. Then the later part of the movie can also include the robot's betrayal of his maker. Therefore, there must be a new villain that has to be more dangerous than Eggman, since Carrey is planning on retiring from acting. If Shadow's the next villain, then there is the unlikelihood that there will be another. Shadow in the end becomes an anti-hero. The feature of Metal Sonic would include other storylines, including Dr. Robotnik's legacy, a powerful enemy, and a true villain. The other group of characters could be Gun Gun, was introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as the group which tries to protect Shadow. Suppose the movies follow the same path as the games, Shadow will be the main villain in number 3, and then most likely become the anti-hero, as the games could suggest. Then a new villain, likely Metal Sonic, would also follow. Moving on to, how could Dr. Robotnik's absence in the films be explained. Even though Dr. Robotnik's departure is not guaranteed for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, they could replace Carrie or exclude the character altogether. The trilogy could explain the consequences of his actions to keep the story in the series if they remove the character. The mid-credit scene set this up. The scene showed Gun agents finding the map to the lab holding Shadow in one of Dr. Robotnik's databases. It also showed that the assistant, Agent Stone, survived the battle and pretended to be a Gun agent. Metal Sonic is one of Dr. Robotnik's incredible creations, so Agent Stone could potentially use the quill to bring to life Metal Sonic and seek revenge against the Hedgehog. The underlying storyline would set up the Metal Sonic story and still keep the legacy alive for Dr. Robotnik. It will also make Metal Sonic realize that he wants to claim Sonic's power for himself. So, the story would need a villain to replace Dr. Robotnik. So, adding Metal Sonic does provide a better villain. He only wants to prove that he's better than Sonic, and he must eliminate him to prove that to everyone. It has taken an army of heroes to destroy him, with Metal Sonic a formidable opponent. If the story follows the same path and Shadow joins Sonic, they could team up to defeat Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic in the games was always a villain. He has been prominent in the game since Sonic Heroes was released in 2003. At one point, Metal Sonic even went against his maker to prove that he was better than him. To take down Metal Sonic in the games were Super Sonic and a few of their friends, which could mean that Metal Sonic is indeed quite powerful. The departure of Carrie could make way for Metal Sonic. Next up, how Shadow is different in the movies to the games. Dr. Robotnik in the games created Shadow, but in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, they went a slightly different direction. The government had held Shadow in a lab. The movie storyline also had the government going after Sonic. Having the government in the movie could make the undercover part of the government the actual villain in Sonic 3. The Metal Sonic in Sonic Adventure could be part of the final action, as this becomes the government's attempts to copy Sonic's powers. The storyline involving the government could give the humans in the franchise a focal point and become more relevant to the storyline. The humans could try and figure out the conspiracy within the government, and now we have being different to the game could be a good thing for the movies. Not following the game's plot lines could be good for the movies. This will make the film less predictable and have room to grow. For example, during the first two movies, a war between the Echidna tribe and owls could have led to Knuckles and Sonic becoming orphans. This war could bring in a villain that brings their character's storyline full circle. Even though they are promoting the next film as a hedgehog battle, it does not mean that Shadow does not end up in the film too. The first movie didn't follow the game's plot, but the second movie did. Suppose the next film follows the timeline of the games. In that case, the next game to follow is Sonic CD, which includes Metal Sonic. Finally, why does the release date matter? Introducing Shadow is exciting for fans, as it has been 23 years since Shadow was a character that became part of the game franchise. So there would be some serendipity to having Shadow in this latest movie. December 20th, 2001, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was released, which introduced Shadow. Fans' theories that the Sonic 3 movie release date was deliberately done for the introduction of Shadow. The link between the dates of the movie and the game would be an excellent way for the creators to introduce Shadow. The creators could give Shadow similarities to the game, but with some enhancements. The post-credits scene was like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. In the movie, Shadow is in a chamber in a secret government lab run by Gun. In the game, Shadow is brought to life by Dr. Eggman. Shadow has no memory, and Dr. Eggman wants to help Shadow conquer the world and take revenge against the humans based on his promise to Maria. The team-up makes Shadow an enemy of Sonic, as he does not remember who he really is and follows Dr. Eggman's plan. They both attempt to dominate the world. Eventually, the memory of Shadow resurfaces, and then he remembers that he promised to protect the humans and not destroy them. Shadow and Sonic end up working together to defeat Eggman. The story involving Eggman would need to change, as Carrie will no longer be a part of the franchise. Dr. Eggman will not be taking part either, but the underlying storyline for Shadow does not need to change. The villain became a hero, as often been a central plot for many movies. With anti-heroes eventually becoming heroes, eventually Eggman would need to be replaced by a proper villain. But having Shadow as part of the franchise would be a cool full circle moment that should not be passed up given the release date. Hope you enjoyed watching this video about Sonic 3, and it might include something fans have been waiting for. Plus, there will be a more dangerous villain ahead. Please leave a comment below. We would love to hear your thoughts. Remember to like and subscribe. Until next time.